Hey everyone, my name's Darren Fewens. I'm a session singer, I'm a top-line writer, a songwriter. I'm also an audio engineer. I've had the pleasure of writing for artists from The Voice like Vaughn Mogul from Team Ariana Grande, Sienna Pelikai from Team Legend, and many more fantastic artists. I'm also a featured songwriter on Kygo's masterclass on studio.com. If you haven't checked out studio.com, do yourself a favor, go check it out. They've got all these classes, lessons, and tutorials that are just amazing. Tutorials and classes led by Kygo, like I mentioned, Ryan Tedder, Charlie Puth. Amazing classes. Go over to studio.com and check those out. I've also been an engineer for many years working with some incredible artists, and one thing I've come to learn is that going into sessions as an artist, you need to have a plan, right? Some kind of structure of what you want to achieve throughout that session. So today I thought I'd share with you my top line vocal template, if you will, for recording top lines. I feel like I've come up with a structure that really works great for me as a starting point. And today I'm going to share with you my process. So just keep in mind that this should always be a starting point. No song is ever the same. And you should always try and treat the process of recording vocals with sensitivity to the individual song. So for instance, one song might need a bunch of stacked harmonies to make it sound full and complete, and another song might benefit from more of a less is more approach. Okay, so the track I'm going to be using today for this tutorial is currently an available top line from my website, which is www.darrenfewensmusic.com. And it's available for purchase right now. It's 100% royalty free, so you buy it, you own it, okay? I have a total of 10 songs that I consider to be some of my best work and favorite top line projects on my website that are constantly being updated, right? So if you buy one, it gets replaced by the next one almost immediately. So when you're done with this video, go check out my website, darrenfewensmusic.com, and hopefully you'll be inspired by the music. In any case, let's dive into the process. Okay, so let's start with the basic template set up inside your DAW. I'm using Pro Tools, but this will work with any commonly used DAW. Let's quickly just talk about the tracks that I have set up. It's important to, if you're about to record vocals, a lot of the time you'll be using an engineer and they should have this done for you. But if you are recording yourself, then this will be the perfect guide to just set you up with tracks already there, because you don't want to be, importing and creating tracks as you go. It just slows down the process. It just makes everything, makes you backtrack a little bit and lose the flow and the vibe of what you're recording. So, as you can see here, up here, I have just some basic music tracks. They're going to be my music stems. I produce this, but it's very, very basic, because I didn't want to overproduce this. I just set up this vibe quickly and effectively so that I could write the song to it. So you can see here we have a kick and a snare and a bass, and then a pad, a pluck, and a hi-hat. Let's move that hi-hat up there. And then let's get into the vocal trackings. The vocal tracks that we have here, we've got a lead verse, we have a lead chorus, and then we have our doubles left, doubles right. We have a high octave, a low octave, and a very low octave. So I'll explain what all of those are as we go through. But then below here, I have my harmonies, always going like left to right, and we can vary the panning on those, depending on, what you think. I usually tend to put my lower harmonies in the center a little bit more, and then my higher harmonies out wider, just because the low harmonies usually resonate better in the center rather than the side. But the number one rule is there is no rules. So whatever you think sounds best is always the way to go. And I usually probably set up about 4 or 5 harmony tracks. And a lot of the times I won't use all of them, but once again, it's better to have too many than need to create more in the middle of your session. I also have some ad lib tracks up here. I have 2 ad lib tracks, and I've called them ad libs on the melody and ad libs echoes. I'm going to explain a little bit more of that a little bit later too. But it's all to do with this template that I'm trying to get across to you, is that an easy way of thinking about approaching your vocal session. We can quickly look at the plugins that I have. I have some UAD stuff here. I have this API channel strip, which it's just doing a few EQ things, and this compressor shouldn't be on, but it is at the moment. And just some EQ things here. You can take a picture of that and look at what I'm doing there. I also have this awesome plugin called Fresh Air. It's on very lightly. I've only got like 5% on this high sparkle and 10% on the high mid presence, I should say. It just adds a little bit of magic brightness to the top of the vocal. I then have an EQ that I've already, because this is a pre-done session, I already have some EQs that I've taken out. Here I have, after that, I have my compression. Oh yeah, by the way, this is reductive EQ, right? So there's nothing really adding in this EQ. It's all being taken away. And then I have my UAD compressor, which is just controlling everything. Once again, I'm not getting too much into the engineering side of these things, because once again, I don't want it to take away from my writing thought process or my vocal tracking process. I just want a quick setup that works, that I know I won't need to think about too much. So these are perfect. And I have a de-esser there as well. I think it's really simple on the BV tracks. I use this Butch Vig vocals, and I find it works great. I usually love to add just a little bit of this harmonic saturation from the solid state. You can see there I've only got like 4.2 added, but it's really, really nice. And some EQ things going on here. There's no compression on this because I have, once again, my LA2A UAD set up for the compression on that track, and that's it. If I was mixing or producing this track more, then I would have a lot more stuff there. But once again, it's just a quick fix so I can get set up and recording and keep the process flowing. A de-esser as well. And then on both of these lead vocals and backing vocals, I have some delay and some reverb, just simple stuff. The delay, I'm using Echo Boy, and the reverb, I'm using Valhalla, Vintage Verb, love that. And you can, you might find you want to get a lot more into the delays. You can do that. You can create like a quarter delay and a half delay. You might be using different reverbs at certain times. You might be using like a plate reverb. that might be more centered in the middle, and then like a whole reverb, which is a little bit wider in the mix. But I just tend not to focus too much on this during the writing process, once again, because I don't want to get caught up in the mixing side of things. So that's my template, right? So I am set up in there. We have our ad libs up here too, which I can go through quickly if you like. I tend to use this like a telephone kind of EQ on the ad libs, but that's just, once again, it's a starting point. I will change that depending on the song, but that usually just gives me a nice vibe. Usually gives me a different sound than the lead vocals and everything, so I can hear the difference and hear how it's going to work. I have the LA2A on that again, with the fresh air, and I have microshift on this as well, which is just like a doubling kind of plugin, just going to give it, a little bit of wideness to the sound. And that's my vocal template. So once that's set up, I'm ready to go. And so let's bring in the vocals. We're going to start with the lead vocals, and that's coming up now. Okay, so this is a top line that I've already written. So we're going to go through the same process that I went through when I recorded the vocals for this session. So we'll start and we'll pick up, directly after I've recorded the lead vocal. Okay, so just imagine that you've just tracked your lead vocal, and then you're kind of wondering what to do next. Like, do I, you start thinking as an artist, like, do I need to, maybe I should put some ad libs in, or, the thought process can get confusing, right? So that's what this whole thing's about, is just coming together with a structure that works to slowly build your song vocally and have everything that you need. So before we get started, let's just have a listen to the lead vocal that we have, right? We have 2 tracks at the moment, lead verse and a lead chorus, right? And that's just the lead melody, no doubles and no harmonies or anything like that at this point, okay? Let me just make sure that I have them turned off. I do. And here we go. We'll listen to the song and get a vibe for it.
I'm heavy from the weight of life. The same old rules keeping me inside these lines. Game over. I'm tired of playing one-on-one. It gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love. Give me one love, give it to me tonight. Give me everything that's missing in my life. If I wake up in the morning light and I don't see a stranger lying by my side, give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, 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 give me one love. Why?
Okay, so that gives us a vibe. That gives us the, an introduction to the sections. It's a pretty common pop trend in this song, which is verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then hook. In the second verse, which we'll play in just a little bit, there's like some slight variations, just so the melody is not completely repetitive. And just gives our listeners something a little bit different to hear between the sections. Also, another thing to take note is if you're writing a top line, to listen to the way that we vary each section. Okay, so we've got the verse here, which kind of has like a repetitive melody.
I'm heavy from the weight of life. The simple rules keeping me inside these lines.
Right, and then we go into the pre-chorus, so it doesn't once again go do 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 do. It goes
Game over, game over. I'm tired.
and also notice in that section where the melody actually gets a little bit higher. All right, it gets a little bit higher pitched, and that's once again to give our listeners something new to listen to, something they haven't heard before in the song. Right, we're slowly building dynamics, or at least playing with the dynamics and the pitch, right? Giving them something new to listen to. So we have that pre-chorus that goes a little bit higher than the verse.
Game over, game over, game.
I think that's the highest note.
Playing one-on-one. It gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love.
And then we go into the chorus.
Give me one love, give it to me tonight.
Then we have a new high
Give
note,
me,
right? A new high note that goes even higher there.
give me everything that's missing in my life.
Right, new heights like through each section, so that the listener is always listening to something that they haven't heard before. I just wanted to point that out. So once again, getting back to where we were, I'm going to open up these tracks here, and we've just finished recording our lead vocal in our session, and then we're like, okay, so what do we do next? I will always do our doubles next, right? We have these two tracks, a doubles left, a doubles right. What I would mostly do is go to the chorus section. In 90% of times, the chorus is going to be the biggest part of the track vocally. Once again, the main rule is there are no rules, right? So whatever sounds best. Every track is different, and just do what you feel. But in this case, it's the 90% part of it, and I've basically doubled the chorus word for word. There might be some words that I've left out of the doubles that the lead vocal will do only, but for the most part, it's doubled. So we have this sound.
Give me one love, give it to me tonight. Give me everything that's missing in my life. If I wake up in the morning light and I don't see a stranger lying by my side, give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, 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 give me one love.
Right, so that's pretty much doubled all the way throughout. I've got it panned, not all the way left and right. I've got it at like 80, around 80, and then around 70 for this one. Just went with what I felt. There's no rules to that. But I don't like to drag them all the way out to left and right with the doubles, because I like to leave that space for the backing vocals when they come in to make the space even wider. And you can hear that the doubles do this little echoey thing too. That's the only thing that the lead vocal doesn't do. This. The reason I didn't want the lead vocal to do that is because I wanted the vocal out wide, rather than just in the center for that section. I just had a cool idea while I was listening to this. And I was thinking maybe I could like mute here on this side and mute this section. So it'll be like, I have to mess with that a little bit, but that might be cool. See, always thinking about new things, no matter what. Cool. We'll leave it like that for now anyway. And so after I've done the chorus, right? After I've done that chorus section, I'm going to go back to the verses and do what I call highlighting, right? It's like when you're reading a book or a paper or something, and there's certain parts you want to remember, especially, and come back to, you highlight them, right? So they stand out amongst the other words. And it's the same kind of thing when we're doing doubles, is there's sections, right? And there's words that we want to emphasize and give, more importance to. So I go through the verse and I find spots where I think that would work. In this case, I've got it here on the very first word of the verse. So without the doubles, we have this.
I'm heavy from the weight of life.
And with the doubles,
I'm heavy from the weight of life.
And again.
The same old rules keeping me inside the...
Right, so not a lot, just, on one word here, and then like 3 there. What is it, 3? Same old rules, yeah. And then a little bit more in the pre-chorus, right? It builds. Once again, we're building dynamics, building section by section. So in this pre-chorus, there's a lot more doubles, not completely doubled, but just to emphasize certain things. So we listen to that.
Game over, game over. I'm tired of playing one-on-one.
Right, so we've got this push and pull where it becomes bigger.
Game over, game over.
We pull it back.
I'm tired of playing one-on-one.
And build again. So it's always this push and pull with dynamics. That's what makes great songs, is keep your listener intrigued and then, excited, and then what's going to happen, just this push and pull with dynamics. So that's the double track. We have that, throughout the pre-chorus, and it happens again over here on the second verse. Let's hear the second verse.
Why I gotta wait so long?
Same thing, right?
So
just on those
long.
2 phrases.
What did I do? Where did my life go so wrong?
And we go into the second pre.
Wrong. I've been looking.
Pull.
No one thinks that I'm enough.
Push.
It gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love.
Right, and you heard there we have that variation, which wasn't a variation of melody, which wasn't in the first verse. Just something, once again, to give the listener something different to listen to, so it's not completely monotonous.
It gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love.
Cool, so I did that for the whole track, right? Most of the time, with these pop choruses, we can copy-paste the doubles for the hook over, which, we've done. And then we would move on to the octaves. We've got this high octave. Octave is obviously 8 notes, or 12 semitones, but 8 notes. That's why we call it an octave. You can see here we've got a high octave and a low octave and an extra low octave. So we'll talk about the high octave first. Right, this is me singing an octave higher than the original, but not a harmony. It's an octave. And it could essentially be known as a harmony, but I'm calling it an octave, so it's very, very clear. And once again, it's a structural thing, right? If I know I add these octaves, then I don't need to do it when I'm thinking about harmonies. And again, we're just highlighting certain areas. So we've got this in the verse for the second half of it. We got,
I'm heavy from the weight of life. The same old rules.
right, it's a little bit, it's buried there. I'll turn it up a little bit so you can hear it.
Of life. The same old rules.
Right.
Same old rules.
Sound like a chipmunk there. It just gives it a new dimension, because the first time it's just doubled.
I'm
but
Same old rules.
then it's a little bit different. And we have it here in the pre-chorus as well.
And I just need someone to love. Give me one love.
Right, and here in the verse 2, the same part that it's in the first verse.
So long, what did I do?
So it's not much, but just where I felt it was needed. Okay, so moving on to the low octave, we have a very similar kind of idea, right? So we're lowering the melody by an octave, and once again just highlighting certain sections that might benefit from something different for the ear, right? So this comes in the hook. Have it here. We have the hook.
Give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, give me one. Give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, give me one.
All right, we can hear it soloed.
Give me one, give me one. Give me one, give me one, give me one.
And I'll play it without, and then I'll put it back. I'll put it in so you can hear the difference.
Give me one, give me one. Give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, give me one.
Right, just add some extra texture in there. There's only one extra spot. I have it here in pre-2.
It's colder as the night gets older.
Alright, that's in that variation section. And, you know, I just basically went through the song and, you know, I tried things out. Sure, there's probably parts that I tried things out and they didn't exactly work, but just ideas that pop into, you know, your head as you're recording. You should try those things out structurally, right? And then this is cool. This next section is like an extra low octave. So it's basically 2 octaves lower than the melody that we have. And it's an effect. You can do anything. You could do like an extra 2 octaves higher. Just depends on what the song you're working on and what it calls for or what you think might work. In this song, I felt like a really, really low voice kind of suited it. This has already been done, but I can just show you real quick how I got the sound. Right, I obviously found the key to the song. I put it on a low male. I can't remember what key this is in, but let's say it's in A minor. Right, I did that, and then I changed the formant to like, you know, just 124, I guess ish. But I just played around with it to see what sounded best, and I transposed it minus 12. And that gave this effect. Hear it over here. And so we have this in the mix.
I'm heavy from the weight of life, the same old rules.
Right, I found a space there, a little gap where I felt like it could be used. And I just felt like that really, really worked. Once again, it's just another layer, another texture that we can hear. In the pre, it sounded like this.
It gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love.
Right.
It's older, and I just need someone to love.
In the chorus.
Give me one, 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 give me one love. Give me one, give me one. Give me one, 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 give me one love.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I love that. I love that effect. Really simple, just octave down and just layer it. Really important to remember when you're doing all of these doubles, the octaves and the extra low octaves, never copy paste vocals, right? Never copy paste from the original and drag it down to another track. Always record new vocals to avoid any phasing issues. You always want to make sure that the doubles and the octaves are super, super tight, as close to the lead vocal as possible. Because in most cases, you're not trying to give the impression that there are a bunch of singers on the track when you're doing doubles and octaves. Simply delivering width and height to the performance. So that's why it's important that every entry and ending to the phrase all end and start as close to the original take, which is like the melody, as possible. So that's all our doubles and octaves. Let's move on to harmonies. Okay, so once again, talking about structures, right? So we've just finished now our lead vocal. We've done some doubles and we've done some octaves and even some lower octave effects, right? And pretty much right now, there's no harmonies. Even the octaves, once again, they're not harmonies, right? They're layers on top of the melody. Really super tight. They're not meant to sound big or like there's many people. They're just extra layers and extra thickness and extra height. So now we're going to bring into the mix harmonies, right? We're going to start thinking about where I should put harmonies. And it's a really, really tricky thing. It's a really tricky thing. I could go on for hours talking about the different types of harmonies we want to put in, where we want to put that. But, this is meant to be a template setup or a session structure. So I don't want to dive too deep into the harmonies today. But if anyone would be interested in a video talking about background vocals, arrangement ideas, let me know in the comments below and I'll set one up and we can talk about that. So I've approached backing vocals in this song like they're more or less additional instruments. In this case, the lead vocal itself is not so melodic, right? It just does that, give me one, give me one, give me one, give me one, give me one. It's not going, give me one, give me one, give me one, so much. So it's probably not the best example, but like I mentioned, if you want a tutorial about backing vocals and different ideas that you can do, let me know and I'll hook it up. But basically, what I want to talk about is like the no movement in the stacked harmonies. They're moving more like an instrument, like a block chord, than something that follows the melody. Which you hear a lot in like things like country music and stuff like that. Every genre, I guess. But this one, these harmonies we can hear right now, they're very, very stacked and very still, for lack of a better word. So let's listen to them. We can solo them here, I think.
Give me one, 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 love. Give me one, give me one. Give me one, 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 love.
Right, in the first half you can really hear that it's just staying really still.
Give me one, 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 love.
And with the lead vocals, we get this.
See a stranger lying by my side. Give me one, 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 love. Give me one, give me one. Give me one, 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 love. Give me one, give me one.
Cool. So notice there's no harmonies in the first verse or the pre-chorus. There's actually none in the chorus either. We just start right at the hook. Once again, we're trying to build up dynamics, right? So that's why I probably chose not to use any in the first half. In verse 2, we have a harmony going on. So let's see what that's doing.
So long, what did I do? Where did my...
right? Just highlighting that section there with that lyric, what did I do? And we also have some harmonies in the pre-chorus number 2 that we don't have in the first pre-chorus as well.
Love, it gets colder as the night gets older, and I just need someone to love. Give me someone, give me one love.
So they're just some variations between sections. Cool. So we've got that. We've got our lead vocals. We've got our doubles. We've got our octaves. We've got now our harmonies stacked. Then we're going to move on to our ad libs. Ad libs are probably the main reason I wanted to do this video. I've had so many artists come into sessions and struggling to know what to do when it comes to ad libs. So I want to tell you 2 ways to break it up and get more out of your session, your vocal session. I've named them specifically for the way that I think about them. This is not an official name for the way to do ad libs, but there's 2 ways I think about them. And the first way is called on melody ad libs. So simply put, these are ad libs or runs that primarily use the same lyrics as the lead vocals, but they'll change up the melody. Like these examples I'll show you here. This is in going into pre-chorus 1.
Keeping me inside these lines, these lines.
Right, the melody is keeping me inside these lines, but the harmony is going these lines. Right, it's at the same time that the melody sings, but it's a different melody. So essentially, it's an ad lib on the melody. There's this one.
I'm tired of playing one-on-one.
Right. I'm tired of playing one-on-one is the melody, and the ad lib is going one-on-one.
Tired of playing one-on-one.
And the other example is what I'll call echo ad libs, right? So they appear not on at the same time the melody is playing. They're in the spaces in between. So you can see in this section here, this is the lead vocal, and this ad lib comes where there's a gap and after it again. So they sound like this.
As the night gets older, and I just need someone to love. Give me someone to love. Give me one love.
Right. So it pops up in between where the melody is, just to fill in the spaces. So they're more about filling the gaps to add texture. So what I'll do in my session or a guide or to guide a vocalist through the session if I'm engineering is I'll first grab like several takes of on melody ad libs until you think you have enough, and then I'll go back and do some echo ad libs, and they could be like oohs or ahs or repeats of the main melody. And we keep everything, right? We don't throw anything away. You can, even if the vocal take is not the best, you might hit on a great idea that you can come back later on to perfect the vocals. So we have a few more here on melody.
If I wake up in the morning light, and I don't see a stranger lying by my side. Oh, give me one, give me one, give me one, give me one.
And then when you add them both together, you have this like really full vocal. Like you've got vocals everywhere in the gaps. You've got textures with octaves, doubles, harmonies, ad libs, but it's all broken up into sections. So this is This is the whole point, right? It's to structure your session so you think about all these things. So many artists that I've tracked, they come into the session and they do their main melody. It could be it could be rap, it could be pop, it could be whatever, and they'll record the lead vocal and then they'll just say some random things, and you lose track of where you want to put things, and you get lost in the process because you're just not structuring it correctly. So it's always best to have a plan.
Want to love, give me some water, give me one love, give it to me tonight, give me everything that's missing in my life. If I wake up in the morning light and I don't see a stranger lying by my side, give me one, 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 give me one love, give me one, give me one.
Right, and so after this, you can pass off your song to mixing and mastering. Be sure to check out my partner company, Radio Ready Mixing, for any projects that you need mixed or mastered. You can find us. Once again, the link is below at www.radioreadymixing.com. And don't forget to visit me for any session vocals or top lines that you need for your productions at darrenfewensmusic.com. Let me know if you like this video. I'm Darren Fewens, and thank you for watching.